Hey everybody, welcome back to the QC presented by thequickcritic.com. I am joined today by cosplay extraordinaire Vegas PG, as well as musical aficionados Anthony of Island Asylum and King Green. How's everybody doing today?
Fantastic. And yourself?
Amazing.
I'm doing good. I cannot complain. We will be back with you guys in just a quick message from our friends. Ooh.
This is Luke Goss. And this is one of my favorite places to check out all things movie. Check it out. This is the QC.
Hey, this is Nick Smith. You're watching the QC, the best in entertainment, reviews, and more. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
So before we jump into a conversation about the Batman, and for anybody watching, that's what you're here for. It's to hear us talk about the Batman and what we thought about that film. I wanted to pose a quick question to you guys. Do you guys know how long it's been since the last live-action Batman film?
Depends on what we're counting here.
Yeah.
So I'm going live-action standalone Batman films.
Okay.
It's been a while, at least 10 years, right?
It'll be 10 years next month is when The Dark Knight Rises came out in July of 2012.
Wow.
That's
if you want
crazy.
to include the Batman vs Superman film, which is technically a Batman film, that came out in 2016. So that would be more like 6 years ago. But still, it's been a while. You know what I mean? And I only mention that to just illustrate the fact that we're not getting Batman films necessarily every year. This is a special event when these things happen. So that's why we're excited to talk about it.
That's because DC needs to step up their game. Come on.
I know, for real. So that being said, you guys want to give me your overall impressions of the film? What did you guys think?
All right,
Who's
who's
going
going to go first?
You go first. You dressed up. You go first.
Okay. I did kind of like it. There were a lot of things I liked about it. There were a lot of things I didn't like about it. I liked the style of it. It was a little bit more film noir. It was very dark, but not in the way that I was expecting it to be. I actually, when they said it was going to be dark, I thought it was going to be sort of like gruesome. And I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't very gruesome. It was just the feel of it, the attitude of it was dark. I actually liked the Batman. I was not as crazy about the Bruce Wayne. He's a little too emo for me, but it's okay. I get that this is a stepping stone for the character, and that hopefully he's gonna move forward and become more of the Bruce Wayne that I kind of love. All in all, I thought it was great. I really liked the Riddler. I thought he was a very believable psycho person, so that was a lot of fun. I would say all in all, I liked it. Yeah.
What do you think about Catwoman?
I liked her. At first I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about her, and especially for things like this, I specifically try not to watch trailers. I try not to see any of the spoilers. I love surprises, so I wanted to be surprised in the theater. I wanted to get sort of a genuine feel for it without anybody else's opinion attached to it. And at first, when I first saw her, I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But as the movie progressed and you really get to see her, Zoe's rendition of the character, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I thought she did a great job with it.
Good stuff.
That's dope.
King Green, what do you think? What was your overall impression?
Overall impression is a good movie. Way too long. It's just, which made it like, it's not long in the fact that they dragged things out. It was long in the fact that there was too many scenes. You know what I'm saying? When sometimes you drag out a scene and you're like, oh, this shouldn't be there. It's not the fact that like I was like, oh, why they're having this long ass conversation. It's just like they just tacked on so many different things that they really didn't need to. Even the ending where you see, I guess it was Joker, the foreshadowing the new Joker. I was like, why is this here? I didn't need any of that. It could have ended like 3 times. But as far as I agree with Vegas about the Batman is dope and he did a good job as the Batman. But I also gave him leeway because listening to the movie, he said that he was only the Batman for 2 years. So this is like a crazy person 2 years in beating people up on the streets. So I gave him leeway that if even him being all skinny and scrawny and emo, I'm like, if the next movie there's a drastic change, like even physically and demeanor wise, because that's what the theme about this whole movie was about, being a vigilante or a hero, and the difference between a brute vigilante and becoming a hero. That's what the whole thing is. So if it actually comes to that when the second one, I would like this first movie better. But right now it could look like just not well executed, just me watching it right now, because I nitpick and look at things like that in such a way. But as far as it being a good ass movie, it was, because I was into, even though it's like Seven, it's like Zodiac or whatever like that, but it still felt like Batman. You know what I'm saying? So I was watching it and I was into him figuring out things and using Selena Kyle to kind of figure out who's behind the scenes and all that. So I was into that the whole time, and I never felt dragged until the whole, what's my man's name? Frank, the mob boss that was like the real mayor. I forgot his name.
Falcone.
Falcone, yeah.
Marcone, yeah.
Carmine Falcone, yeah.
Yeah.
John Turturro.
That conversation between him and Selena Kyle and that whole conflict, that seemed a little abrupt, and the like relationship between Batman and Catwoman seemed like, hey, let's smash out of nowhere. But when I think about it, if I'm a crazy person in a suit and you're a crazy woman in a suit, we're probably going to get to that pretty quickly. We're not really, we're not really thinking about, I don't need to get to know you. That's not the, what I'm saying? So it happened quick, but it made sense in it. So the second movie is going to make me know exactly how I feel about this first one.
Gotcha. What about you, Anthony?
I thought I always do this. I tend to be way too harsh as I'm watching it, and then in hindsight, I'm like, all right, that wasn't as bad as I thought. This was actually a pretty decent movie. Like when I saw it, I rated it as like a 6, because every scene I'm just like, oh, this again. Oh, this again. Oh, they're doing this again. But I didn't realize until the next day that I was like, okay, that they took from an animation, that they took from comics, that one that I've seen already, they took from this video game. So it was like, okay, this is the first time we're seeing a lot of this stuff on the big screen, and I needed to give them credit for that, which I wasn't doing while I was watching it. So I think there was a lot of positives. I'm still just kind of like, oh man, I love superheroes, but I'm still kind of getting the fatigue. And to me, it's gonna come down to what they do with this universe. Are they gonna do something with it with Flashpoint? Are they gonna make it, keep doing its own thing? We'll see what they do next, and that'll kind of help me rate this one, later on.
Right on. Yeah, no. So I really enjoyed it a lot. I think Robert Pattinson, I expected him to do a great job as the Batman after seeing him in Tenet. After being initially a bit skeptical of him, I thought he did a great job. I thought he was the highlight of the film. I thought the bat suit looked amazing. I love the fact that they skipped the origin stuff and just the movie just starts and he's Batman. He's right. He's there. He's literally working with the police. He's right there in the thick of things. I thought that was a really good approach. And I just overall love the fact that they, Batman's supposed to be the world's greatest detective, and you don't really see too much of that in the other films. I guess you get a little bit of that, I think, with Christian Bale's Batman, but like Ben Affleck's Batman didn't have any detective skills that I could remember them showing. So I love the fact that they kind of leaned into that a little bit, and him at least trying to be more of the detective that Batman is supposed to be. And just overall, it gets a very high review for me, and very high score, I should say. And we're gonna talk a little bit about what our favorite Batman films are, and I'll give you an idea of where it falls for me. So, speaking of which, can you guys talk a little bit about your favorite Batman films and where this may fall in or not with that?
Michael Keaton's my favorite Batman. I'm gonna go old school. I love Michael Keaton. The very first Batman, and okay. If we're still talking about Batman, but who cannot like Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman? She is absolutely my favorite Catwoman. I like that very first Michael Keaton Batman movie. My favorite.
Absolutely.
Batman Returns. with the Catwoman. But I would say Dark Knight. I'm one of those guys. I mean, Dark Knight is like one of the greatest movies, let alone like Batman films, and just the performance of Heath Ledger, Joker. Like, it's crazy. I mean, there's nothing that's beating Dark Knight. Not to say that nothing will, but as of right now, Batman ain't none better.
Heath Ledger was a great Joker.
Yeah. So for me, the Dark Knight for me is still, I think, the best Batman film. In fact, as far as comic book films, it's probably my second favorite after Captain America and Winter Soldier, just like of all time. But specifically as it goes with Batman films, I'm going Dark Knight still number one for me. I'm placing this film in my number two as far as Batman films, and then Batman Begins will be my number three. So I think that's pretty good considering the amount of Batman films that we've gotten historically. The fact that this film a week after it came out,
number two is pretty good.
Wasn't it 9 of them? Is it like 9 Batman films? Because you got like the Val Kilmer one. You got you got 2.
So there's 2 in the original. There's just Batman Returns, and then Kilmer. You got Batman
and Robin,
Batman Forever, and then you get Batman and Robin.
All right, my bad.
And then you get the Dark Knight trilogy, which makes it 7, and then Batman Dawn of Justice, which is 8. So, and this would be 9. So yeah, so there's 9.
Yeah.
But then also some people include like Mask of the Phantasm in there, like the animated films, which is really good.
You can't include that. That's the animated films.
Okay.
And Mask of the Phantasm is almost better than all the movies.
They are, yeah. I was gonna say DC has their animations on point, man. Where their cinematic universe lacks, their animations are so friggin' good.
Yeah, but DC has to account for the fact that not everybody watches those animated films. A lot of people don't think that they're worth anything, you know?
That's fact.
There's a lot of people that just won't watch cartoons. And man, they're missing out. DC animation, Star Wars animated series are incredible, and they're shame on them. Watch cartoons.
No, I get that. You know, I love Star Wars. I watch everything Star Wars, but like I haven't really watched the Clone Wars. Haven't really watched Star Wars Rebels. I know those shows are good, but like for me, it's hard for me to watch like an extended series of animated anything. Just, you know, I didn't even watch the Star Wars. What was the Japanimation they came out with last year? The Star Wars.
Resistance. Oh no, you're talking about something else.
I know
what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was like an anthology series. I didn't even watch that, and like I wanted to watch it, but just the fact that it's animated for me just kind of harder to get into it. But you know, it's just a matter of preference, and for me, I just like the live action stuff.
It's because the animation has to also appeal to you, like the actual drawings have to appeal to you, and that's the thing that a lot of people can't get past. For me, it's like I didn't watch the Rebels or the Clone Wars just because I don't like that cheap 3D animation, like where you're not doing enough to like, you know, skin the characters and all that type of stuff. That's just a personal taste. But like you said,
sure,
I want to watch. I know the stories are probably great, but I just don't like looking at those characters.
Yeah, it's a shame because so many of those stories are linking to stuff that's happening now, and it's like Cad Bane, for example. If you haven't watched Clone Wars or Rebels, it's like, oh man, why'd they bring in this awesome character and kill him in one episode? And it's like, no, wait a minute. Like him and Boba had arcs in the Clone Wars, and like it was actually a fitting ending if he's actually dead. Blah blah blah.
Right.
He looked dope, but everyone was all psyched. I was like, yo, I don't know who this guy is, but he looked dope. He's got his cap and stuff like that. But then the other, who's the one that Rosario Dawson played?
Ahsoka.
Yeah, I actually saw her come in. I saw a few episodes with her, so I was somewhat familiar. So it was cool to see that in real life, and she looks just like her, which is crazy.
Yeah, she's gonna kill it. She already did.
So let me ask you this: are you guys putting? So go ahead, Vegas.
No, I just said she's amazing, Rosario Dawson.
She is really good. She is really good in that role. So let me ask you this: are you guys putting the Batman in your? If you're choosing your top 3 Batman films, so I gave you my top 3, and I'm still kind of waiting for you guys to give me your top 3. But okay. Are you including the Batman in there or not? Or
not yet. Not yet. I need to watch it again, and admittedly, I will watch this movie I don't know, 5 more times in the next year. I'll put it on as I'm going to bed and rewatch it that way. But for right now, in no order, I go 1989, Batman Begins, and The Dark Knight for my top 3.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Dark Knight, Batman Begins, and the Batman and Dark Knight Rises are fighting for third for me until I watch the Batman more.
Batman again. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't like the Dark Knight Rises really at all, almost. but it's still a better experience when I go back. I watch Batman Returns and it's beautiful to watch. But something about the like severity and the deepness of Batman Returns doesn't hit me enough like Dark Knight Rises does. So therefore, Batman Returns is like 4. I wouldn't put it above Rises, but yeah. But I do love Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Like visually, that movie is iconic. Like,
beautiful.
Yeah, Tim Burton. You know, that's when it comes to visuals, Tim Burton usually delivers. You know what I mean? So
I agree.
But it's a little corny when you really watch it as a grown-up.
Yeah, it's some of those films don't hold up.
I still love Batman Forever. It's corny as all hell, but I love it.
Yeah, I didn't say I didn't like Batman Returns. I love all the Batmans except for the one with George Clooney, honestly. We were just talking about would I watch it on TV? I watch everyone except for the one with George Clooney.
Fair enough. Yeah, same here.
So the next question I wanted to ask you guys, unless Vegas, did you want to add anything?
No, go right ahead.
So the next question I want to ask you guys, as far as the Batman, the different characters in the film, so obviously Batman, Riddler, Catwoman, Carmine Falcone, etc. Which character stood out to you the most? And I'll go first. And it's easy to just say Batman, and that's really my answer is Batman because Robert Pattinson, I think, just did a great job, and everything he did with that character I enjoyed. But I'm really gonna go with Catwoman. Just because I really liked what Zoe Kravitz did in creating this character that is, living in this like world where like everybody's downtrodden and, it's like just perpetual darkness, like her best friend or even potentially love interest. Because if you look at some of the marketing going up to the film, Zoe actually said she played Catwoman as being bisexual. So you may not have noticed it if you weren't looking for it, but this is what she said leading up to the film. So just keep that in mind. But having her, what could be potentially her love interest, killed by her father, that's a pretty tragic kind of backstory when you put it all together. And then having her, that scene at the very end where she basically says to Batman, she goes, "Is that you wanting me to stay?" And he didn't say anything. He just looked at her, and that's when she was like, "All right, so I'm out of here." And I just thought that was very like just sad because clearly she feels like, okay, this is a guy who kind of understands what I'm going through and might be a good match for me. And she basically was like, "Do you want me to stick around?" And he's like, just doesn't say anything, just looks at her and watches her leave. So I just thought her arc was really good. And, I love Zoe Kravitz and her fighting style, how it kind of felt kind of cat-like, and her movements, like everything she did, I think with the character, I think was very interesting and fun to watch. So I'm going Catwoman. What do you guys think?
I'll go. I'm gonna rank them and say Catwoman first for me, then Penguin, then Batman, and then the Riddler. I didn't really the Riddler as a human being was more interesting to me than him in that costume and that vibe. Like it almost gave you like, hey, this should be thrilling and scary versus actually being intense. And I blame it on the PG-13 rating. I feel like if this movie was rated R, this shit would be actually way better. But Catwoman, I agree with every single point that you said, Swiss. Like that is completely a great. I think it to me is the best Catwoman as far as like a character. Like we don't talk about Halle Berry, right? And then you got Michelle Pfeiffer, who looks like Catwoman traditionally, or whatever, and the suit and all that, which was great. And then you had Anne Hathaway, where that whole movie kind of doesn't really make sense. So you can't really even like her Catwoman was cool. It wasn't horrible. But I think this is the first good Catwoman ever on film. So that's why I put her at the top. Performance in the Batman, as far as like Robert Pattinson, I feel like it was like efficient. Was he amazing? No, but it was efficient. So I'm not mad at it. He wasn't George Clooney, so we good.
So I'm just gonna quickly pause right there because I was remiss for not mentioning this at the jump, but can we just acknowledge that Vegas is dressed as Batgirl? I feel like we just kind of didn't address.
No one
that.
said anything.
We just did damn thing.
So
She
very,
full on
very
Batgirl
nicely
right now.
done. Yeah.
Thank you.
What about you? Which character stood out to you?
I decided no cowl today because I wanted you to see my face.
Right on. So what character stood out to you most, Vegas?
Actually, I'm gonna say Police Chief Gordon. It has nothing to do with the fact that I am currently dressed as Barbara Gordon Batgirl, but I actually thought he wasn't given enough credit. I thought he did a great job because here's this guy in this city full of crime bosses and psycho people and crime up the wazoo, and he has got a guy in a costume who he can't see his face, he doesn't know who he is, and yet he trusts him. For what reason, nobody knows. It's all in his head, or he doesn't vocalize why he trusts him, but he does, and he's putting himself out on a limb in this corrupt police department to trust somebody he doesn't even know more than his fellow cops. I don't know. I don't think he got enough credit, and I was really happy with his character and that portrayal of that character. I thought he did a fantastic job. I loved him. I wanted to see more of him, actually.
Yeah, that guy's a good actor. Ever since he was Peoples Hernandez in Shaft, I've been a fan of his work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys remember that character, but it was pretty funny.
I remember him. I think he's so good that it's almost standard. So he definitely goes like, you know what I'm saying? He's like, oh yeah, of course he's doing a good job, and you're just looking at everything else. That's what happens.
Expecting it. Yeah.
True.
Right on. What about you, Anthony?
So I have three that really stood out to me. The first one is probably a surprise, but I thought Falcone, and really it's a personal thing for me because when they cast him, I was like, man, that's not gonna work. Like I don't think he's gonna be able to do it, and it totally worked, and he totally pulled it off. So Anthony was wrong. The second one is Catwoman for all of the reasons that everybody said already, so I don't need to go into it. And then Gordon, for sure. I thought that he pulled off better than any Gordon I've ever seen. Specifically was just being beat to shit. Anybody in that position is going to be beat to absolute shit. And I thought he portrayed that so well, and it was so real. Like, this dude is run down. He's tired of this already, and he's only been doing it 2 years with the bat. But how long has he been doing it before that with all the crime in Gotham? And I thought he nailed it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, how would you say? How do you guys think Pattinson stands up to the other Batman? Like, where do you place him when you think about the Clooneys, the Kilmers, the Keatons?
Batman specifically, or Batman and Bruce Wayne?
So we'll do Batman first, and then we'll talk about Bruce Wayne.
Okay. I would say as far as Batman, middle of the pack for me. Thought he was all right. Not, efficient, as King said, but yeah,
Gotcha.
Middle of the road.
Gotcha. The only Batman that I really think was better, or put it this way, my three favorite Batman lines up with the three favorite Batman films, which is going to be, well, not exactly, but bottom line for me, it's going to be Keaton, Bale, and this performance now from Pattinson, right? So one of those three is going to be, I think, is the best. It's kind of hard to pick from those three, but I definitely think that Pattinson's performance was really better than Kilmer, certainly better than Clooney. Affleck, shout out to Ben Affleck, same high school. I love that. I love what he did with that role, but I just felt like it didn't really feel like Batman. It felt like just some kind of muscle-bound dude who just like used guns and
felt like Ben Affleck.
Yeah, it was like some kind of Zack Snyder fever dream version of Batman, which is not a bad thing, but it wasn't Batman. Whereas for me, Pattinson, I mean, the scenes where that one particular shot in the very beginning of the film where he's doing a voiceover, and they're talking about how he owns the shadows, and they keep showing the shadows, like a long shot of just looking at some shadows from the perspective of like, you know, these crooks, and they keep thinking he's going to come out. And the first 2 times, if you notice, he never comes out, but then the 3rd time he comes out, and that's when we're the first time introduced to him actually doing Batman stuff. And I just think Pattinson's body language, everything he did with the role, I felt like this guy is Batman. Whereas, you know, Ben Affleck and, you know, the Clooney's, like, I didn't really get that from them. Did
it trouble you in any way, the fact that how he felt for going from Bruce Wayne to Batman, though? Did that affect?
So, you know, in my review, I mentioned that he didn't really play Bruce Wayne too much in the film. I felt like there was very little Bruce Wayne in the movie, and so I didn't really have much to go on. He definitely has the emo kind of thing with the floppy hair, but I think some of that is just kind of Pattinson is just kind of like that, so he can't really help but look the way he looks. But no, I just think the physicality that that Pattinson had, coupled with the fact that he has this like suit that is really the most armor-like in my view of all the Batman costumes. I mean, literally the guy's taking semi-automatic fire at point blank range, and it's just kind of just like blink, blink, just bouncing off of him. Whereas no other Batman has done that in a film. You know, so I really enjoyed that. I just thought he just seemed really dangerous and kind of crazy, which is what Batman should be. That's what Batman is. Think about it, you know, kind of a crazy person. So anyway, what do you guys think?
No, I agree with you 100%. I think he's right up there with Michael Keaton and Christian Bale for Batman. Bruce Wayne, I really like Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne, probably the best. But as a Batman, I liked him a lot. I liked that he was sort of dark and moody as a Batman. I thought that really worked for the character and for the film. It fit right in with the whole style of the film.
Right on.
I don't think. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go. Either one. Go ahead.
I was going to say I don't think Val Kilmer's Bruce Wayne gets talked about enough. I thought he was an excellent Bruce Wayne.
I couldn't even pinpoint it right now in my head because, yeah, I couldn't even do it. Like, we're talking about Batman Forever, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's a fun, silly movie, but I thought his Bruce Wayne in that is on point.
I have to rewatch to see, but
yeah, I think for Batman Forever, we could do a whole stream just talking about that film. But there was a video that I watched on YouTube, and I wish I could reference who made it because I don't remember who made it. But the whole video is like an hour-long video, basically explaining how Val Kilmer was making a very specific choice with how he played Batman in that film. And after watching that video, I was like, okay, that actually makes a lot of sense and kind of put it in a new light. So I have some love for Val Kilmer as Batman. It's just the Riddler in that film. I don't know, just Jim Carrey. I love Jim Carrey, but I don't need Jim Carrey Riddler in my
both of them. That was my biggest critique of the film. I still love that film to this day. I think it's fun as hell. But yeah, both of the villains in that movie acted too much like the Joker.
Yeah. It takes you out of it. Like I prefer a little bit more of a serious tone, so that's just my personal preference. That's why Batman Forever for me, it's hard for me to really recommend it or go back to it. But Val Kilmer specifically as Bruce Wayne, to your point, I think was actually pretty good. It's just it gets forgotten because of all this crazy Jim Carrey
silliness.
Playing Jim Carrey. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Riddler's probably the closest to the Joker, though, in the sense of like if you just kind of replace ridiculous laughter and jokes with riddles, right? Because they're both ridiculously insane and have no point other than try to fuck with Batman. Like that's literally Joker and Riddler. Like we just want to fuck with you, Batman. So that's kind of so that's why I like the idea of the Riddler being in this one. But as far as we're talking about ranking Batmans right now, right? Because I don't think I put my like the actual character who played him, or did we?
Yeah, just how you just compare and contrast how you feel Pattinson did with his playing Batman.
Oh yeah, I think I said
other
that.
Batman.
I think I said that already. Where even Anthony said it's like he's in the middle. He's just somewhere in the middle. I can't really like put him over Bale and Keaton. So he's third.
Sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think of my favorite Bruce Wayne interpretation on screen, and I guess I have to go Michael Keaton just because I don't know. I just thought he was just really like that scene where he's like, you know, hanging from the thing and like a bat swinging back and forth. Do you guys know the scene in the original film? I just thought that was funny, and I Michael Keaton just as a character, I just think he did a good job as Bruce Wayne, and he stands out to me more so than Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne does. Certainly Pattinson's Bruce Wayne, just because, like I said, I felt like Pattinson was in costume as Batman for the majority of the film, right? Like
that's true. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, we didn't get much of his Bruce Wayne, which I think I'm happy about that because I didn't really like it.
But if you think about it as a stepping stone to whatever is going to go in the future, he's starting to feel out where Bruce Wayne lies. You know, he's going to see that. Right now he's hurt and he's lashing out, and that's why he's vengeance. But I think that it's a stepping stone for Bruce Wayne more than Batman, so he can find his place in it all, and he can see that he can do good both in the suit and out of the suit. But like King Green said, if that's where they take it and they actually progress it in that fact, I think this movie is going to be better because it will be the precursor and you'll see the storyline, you know?
Yeah.
Has anyone here been keeping up? Does anybody know what's next for this? Are they keeping this as a one and done, or?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So they've already basically, and I don't know that there's been any official announcements, but it's just kind of understood this is going to be a trilogy. That's kind of what the internet and people that I know who are doing kind of the same kind of work that I'm doing are saying.
It's connected, or?
That's connected. And then also they're saying, or what I'm hearing from Matt Reeves is that, which is, again, none of this is official, but kind of what I've heard through other people who are talking about this type of stuff, is that they're going to do probably Court of Owls in the sequel.
Nice.
Which is for people who read comic books, you know, it's a pretty significant Batman arc, where basically the idea of the Court of Owls, for those who may not know, is that Gotham has basically been run by criminals pretty much as long as Gotham has existed. And Batman is basically fighting an uphill battle because not only are there street level criminals, but like every level of like the police force, the government, like everybody is all connected to this Court of Owls group, which is basically just rich douches.
Remind you of anything?
Yeah. So the rumor is that the Court of Owls is going to be the sequel, and that they're going to establish the Joker in that film, and then Joker will become the main villain in Batman 3. Again, none of this is official, but it seems pretty likely based upon.
What do y'all think of that Joker foreshadowing, or if it was a Joker foreshadowing in the end of the movie?
So it was Joker foreshadowing. Matt Reeves, he has confirmed that Barry Keane, I have a hard time pronouncing his last name, but he was actually, I don't know if you guys saw Eternals, but he was the Eternal that could control people's minds. Mm-hmm. You remember?
Okay, yeah.
So his first name is Barry. His last name is have a hard time pronouncing. I think it's Barry. I think it's Cone or Keen. But anyway, he is 100% playing the Joker, and I think that. I'm feeling I love the Joker. He's probably my second favorite fictional character after Darth Vader, and at least as far as bad guys go. And I'm feeling a little bit of Joker fatigue. So if I'm feeling Joker fatigue, then maybe they should. So I think it's a good idea that they're not doing Joker in the sequel and waiting for the third one. But you can't do a Batman film, certainly a trilogy, and not have Joker, right? I mean, they've already introduced him in this film. So I'm excited about that. As an aside, and I'm curious if you guys noticed this, do you remember the scene where Batman is towards the end, where he's basically, I think he just gotten hit with a shotgun point blank range and he gets knocked out, and he pulls out this green substance and he stabs himself, and then all of a sudden he's back fighting, and he's basically like an insane person.
Yeah,
I think that's Venom, like Bane's Venom. I
was wondering that. I
think that's what that's supposed to be. So they've also kind of potentially set up Bane as well. And I would actually like to see Bane because he hasn't been done a ton. Obviously, he's done more recently with Tom Hardy's Bane. But I think that could be a really interesting character in this universe, I think. So if they do Bane, Joker, Court of Owls, mean, I'm going to show up regardless. But
especially if they're doing them in the right costume with the right injections and stuff. That we haven't seen that yet, because that was a disaster in what the hell was it? Batman and Robin, and then Bane in Nolan's Batman was just so unique. I'm not going to rate it or anything, but totally unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, has anyone heard, is this going to be like Nolan's trilogy where it's just its own thing in a vacuum, or are they going to try to connect other things to it?
I don't know. The only thing I know is that, the only thing I'm fairly sure of is this is going to be a trilogy.
Okay.
Beyond that, I know they're bringing back Matt Reeves, which I think is a great decision, because
they're going to Flashpoint it.
Yeah.
They gotta.
Yeah. Well, they're doing the next Flash movie is basically an interpretation of Flashpoint.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna link that in, but it's just like overall, I think what a time to be alive when like these movies and concepts that certainly when I was growing up, I just never thought we would see these kind of complex interpretation of these characters and like actually good movies with good directing and good writing, compared to like what we were getting when we were growing up, which is like, Superman 4, Quest for Peace, and these really garbage movies. So although I did like the Nuclear Man, I think I'm the only person that liked Nuclear Man from Superman 4. So anyway,
all the Superman movies was trash when you really think about it.
The original? Come on.
I feel like there's no good Superman movie that was ever made.
Really?
What?
Okay.
Actually,
Christopher Reeves?
Superman
No?
movie.
Do you not see my room back here? Are you crazy?
Fighting words.
That's a hot take.
All right.
Superman the character is has been around forever, and as a character, it's kind of hard to make good stories with him, and they've done great stories in comic books and animation. But a movie, you tell me there's an actual perfect Superman movie out there?
I don't know if
You're
there's a
gonna
perfect
say
one.
that Christopher Reeves is not like the best Superman on the planet?
No, I would actually say I mean, God bless the dead, but I'm saying Superman, the best Superman there is the cartoons in the comic books, and like no one's ever done it right in film for me personally, because it's a hard character. It's a character that's literally indestructible, and the only thing that can beat him is basically himself and his family. Like that whole idea and that metaphor has not been dragged out enough for it to really make sense in film. You know what I'm trying to say? It's just a crazy concept that just hasn't, for me.
Yeah, I mean that's a hot take, but at the same time, for me, I think there's a lot of nostalgia for me around Christopher Reeve and just like that John Williams score, and just I don't know. When I was growing up, they showed the same 5 movies on TV, and I feel like Superman was one of them. So I've seen it so many times, like that, Goonies, and like Star Wars, the whole trilogy. I feel like those were on TV constantly. So that kind of was also just beat into my brain by being on TV all the time. So maybe I'm just the nostalgia. Remember berries is taking over my mind. So.
I feel that.
Yeah. So okay, so for Batman 2, the next film, who would you guys like to see them kind of lean into? Is there someone you particularly would like, whether that be Bane, Court of Owls? Do you want Catwoman back? Do you want to see the Joker back? What do you guys think? What do you want for the sequel?
I like how you described it, man. I hope that's exactly what they do. Court of Owls, tease a little more Joker. Hell yeah, bring Selena Kyle back. No reason not to. And yeah, let's just go with that.
I'm in agreement with that as well.
That sounds like a perfect sequel, and it seems like it's already doing that, because the first movie is almost like the beginning of the Court of Owls by knowing how the whole Gotham was corrupted. So it's like it just makes sense, and somehow throw the idea of the Killing Joke in there, so that the third movie is the Killing Joke. Then everything is the great. That's just a great arc for me.
I would sign for that.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
Right on. So pivoting away from Batman, unless you guys had anything else you wanted to add.
Give him another haircut in the second one for Bruce Wayne. Give him another haircut for the second one in Bruce Wayne, and we're golden.
Yeah,
10,000%. A tan, a haircut, and he needs to act. He needs to start acting and somehow perceive the fact that he needs to be this billionaire playboy, so that he can separate those two people, so no one ever thinks that he's Batman. Because, and I think what they did, if they did this on purpose, the way that he thought the Riddler knew he was Bruce Wayne that could be an ill spark for him to want to separate those characters and create two different personalities.
Yeah.
So if they do that because of that, then the first movie was perfect and brilliant.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Right on. So is it safe to say everybody here Star Wars fans?
Yes.
At least to some degree. Okay. So just pivoting away from Batman, obviously we had Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2. You know, I think pretty much unanimously loved.
And season 2.5, they called it Boba Fett or something like that.
Season 2.5 of the Mandalorian, which was the book of Boba Fett. So the reason I'm kind of pivoting to Star Wars is this Wednesday, the rumor is that we're going to get the first trailer for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. So yeah, so keep an eye out for that. That's the rumor, and I'm pretty sure it's almost confirmed at this point. And I'm super excited for that show. I'm curious to get you guys' thoughts on what you thought about the Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 and Boba Fett just collectively as a group, and you know how excited are you going forward for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, the Ahsoka Tano show? There's a couple other ones I think that are coming out that I can't think of right now. But just what are you guys thinking about that whole the new status quo for Star Wars? What do you guys think?
I'll take it. I think it's a breath of fresh air after the sequel trilogy. I think it was definitely needed for the older Star Wars fans of the original trilogy. I think are very satisfied with what's happening now. Mandalorian, I don't think could have been done any better so far. Book of Boba Fett, I think it was awesome for what it was. I do think they kind of punked Boba Fett a little bit. They kind of punked the character of Boba Fett a little bit, and I think they need to redeem him a little bit in the next season of Mandalorian or somewhere along the line. They gotta make him do some cooler shit. But overall, I mean, Kenobi, Ahsoka, which by the way, guys, I know we don't do cartoons, but I'm telling you, you're going to at least want to watch a YouTube recap of Rebels before you get into that Ahsoka series.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm super pumped for all of it. 10 out of 10 on all of it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's I think anybody that's been keeping up with this channel for any amount of time knows, I love Star Wars. Literally, our tagline is "This is the way," which is from a Star Wars property. And I remember when Mandalorian was first announced, the first thing I thought to myself was, well, the Mandalorians are not Jedi. You know, the reason why I like Star Wars, or the reason why I got into it the most, is because of Jedi. So if you have a show that's being led by somebody that's not really connected to the Jedi, I was like, that's not really for me. Obviously, after one episode, my mind was changed, and now I love the Mandalorian. Even I think that character is actually more interesting than Boba Fett is, which is sad because Boba Fett had this whole mythological history in our minds, and they gave him a show, and then he's not in the show half the time, and it was really strange. I feel like if they had called the Book of Boba Fett a Star Wars story or some kind of generic tagline to make it connect to the greater universe, I think that would have helped. But when you have a series that has only 7 episodes or 8, whatever it was, and 2 of them don't involve the lead character of the show, it seems almost like something was happening behind the scenes, and they just were like, you know what, it's fine. People who like Star Wars will get over it, and they were right. I like that show, and I'm not complaining, even though it sounds like I am. But yeah, no, I'm there for it, and just the idea that we're gonna get a show starring a Jedi, which is the first time that's gonna happen in Star Wars. There's never been a Star Wars show starring a Jedi. This is the first one, and that's gonna include Darth Vader again, and it's going to potentially bring in all kinds of other Legends continuity that we never thought we would see on screen. You know, I couldn't be more excited as a Star Wars nerd. So what about you, Green and Vegas?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as y'all, so I'm just going to reiterate all the points. Mandalorian was amazing. There's nothing I would have changed about it. You could have just made it Boba Fett's story and changed the time period, and then it'd have been like even more fan service. But yeah, I didn't really watch all the Boba Fett. It felt somehow like SVU or Law and Order or something, the way that it was like just repetitive for the first few episodes, and then the Mandalorian came, and then I started watching everything. I remember playing ball with Swiss, and I was like, wait a minute, Luke Skywalker shows up. He's like, yeah, episode 6. I was like, I went straight to episode 6 and watched everything backwards because that's what I want. I don't care about this Boba Fett SVU. Like, it didn't matter. But
that's a Filoni trick right there.
You know what I'm saying? Even though Mandalorian was almost had that same type of vibe where it was like he'd go somewhere, he would ask for something, and they'd be like, wait, I'll give you this, but you got to go do this adventure before you get this thing. That was basically every episode of Mandalorian, but it worked because the adventures were fun. So you just kept watching that shit. As far as Obi-Wan, I couldn't be more like that's the most hype I've been since Spider-Man, I guess, the last multiverse one. Like that's something that I'm actually hyped for. This Batman for me was actually a pleasant surprise because I thought it was going to be trash. I thought it was going to be absolute basura. So when I watched it, I was like, okay, this is straight. So I'm hyped about that. I just got a text from somebody who's watching us, a fan of mine that was watching us and said that Penguin is getting its own spin-off on HBO Max.
There's 3 spin-offs. There's going to be a Gotham PD spin-off. There's going to be a Penguin spin-off. And oh my God, what's the third one? I can't think of what the third one is, but they're literally doing three spin-offs, which to me, that seems like a lot. I don't know. Do we need 3 shows?
I think the Penguin show is necessary for me because I really loved his Penguin. I didn't even know that was Colin Farrell. Like, that was crazy.
I don't think anybody knew that was Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
It literally was Robert De Niro, Colin Farrell playing Robert De Niro playing Al Capone.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was great. I was there for it. I was like, he's a Chicago mobster. This Irish dude is a Chicago mobster. But yeah, I just heard that, so I'm into that.
Yeah, he was actually. It's funny. We didn't mention the Penguin until now, just because I don't know. We forgot to mention him, but he was even though he was in the movie very little amount, he was the highlight for me, and I really unrecognizable. Like that Colin Farrell was underneath that makeup, and I remember in some of the marketing leading up to the film, he said that he went out to like Starbucks or something in the makeup just to kind of test it out, and he noticed that like nobody questioned that it was makeup, but people were looking at him crazy because of the way he looks. So basically he's being judged by people for his appearance.
Bam, that makeup was excellent. That was a human being. That looked like a whole human being.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's funny that your friend texted you about that. I don't know why they keep making these Batman shows that don't have Batman. Like Pennyworth, Gotham. Now they're doing 3 more. So that's 5 shows that are in the Batman universe where Batman is probably never going to show up.
I could see like shorts. I could see like a 6-episode miniseries each, but I don't want to see 5 seasons of that ever again after the last Gotham series on Fox. It's like,
oh, I didn't watch that bullshit.
That's enough.
I tried so hard to like Gotham. Like I tried so hard to like Gotham. And I couldn't finish it. I got through, I think, like the first season.
I didn't finish it either.
I didn't finish it either.
Yeah.
But
I never watched Pennyworth.
I have to say, I think that it's DC scrambling at this point because Marvel has been so successful with its movies and its TV shows, and they're sweeping everything. And DC's scrambling right now because they're like, how do we get on this train? And so that's what
because they know that if they slap a Batman or a Superman logo on it, it's going to make money. That doesn't have to make sense. They don't have to connect anything. They have a garbage universe.
It's true. It's so true.
Did you guys watch Pennyworth?
Definitely didn't. Let me close out because I also have to go. So I'm sorry, guys, but I'm
you're good.
But let me close out and saying like those properties, Batman and Superman, are just way larger than even Marvel's been this big for so long now coming in. But like my mom knows Batman and she still doesn't know who Thanos is. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like that thing is always going to work. Batman and Superman is always going to work in this society that we have. So I agree with you that they don't think too hard, and I think they're just starting to think and use.
They're like the New York Knicks; they keep selling out. They don't have to be good.
we don't need no players. It's like we the Knicks. We play in the Garden. But
Green, I know you got to roll out, so that's cool. Listen, we appreciate you. Appreciate your insights and looking forward to having you on again in the future.
Please and thank you. Thanks for talking to y'all, man. This is great.
All right.
Sure.
Bye.
I
Yeah,
hate to be a
so-
Debbie Downer, but I kind of got to go too.
You got to go too. All right. Well,
Yeah.
on that note, we will end the stream. And listen, we appreciate everybody listening in, and make sure you're following in on Instagram at Real Quick Critic, and the website as well, quickcritic.com, for all your entertainment needs. And yeah, we will see you at the next one. This is the way.
This is the way. It was good to be here. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank
everyone.
you.
See ya.